like to call the regular council meeting for the town of Bay-Westfield on Tuesday, May 23rd, 2023 to order at 7 o'clock p.m. We respectfully acknowledge that Bay-Westfield exists on the traditional Woolstook land. The lands of Wabanaki people are recognized in a series of peace and friendship treaties to establish an ongoing relationship of peace, friendship, and mutual respect between equal nations. The river that runs by our town is known as Woolstook, along which live Woolstook-Weg, the people of the beautiful and bountiful river. We, the staff and elected representatives, pay respect to the elders, past and present, and descendants of this land. Good evening, everyone. Last week, I was made aware of very troubling decisions coming from the Office of ASDS that will negatively affect our students and the growth and vitality of the town. Next year, starting with grade 6 and moving forward, late French immersion middle school students will no longer attend River Valley Middle School, but instead will be bused into the city to attend Barnhill School. Some students will need to travel over 85 kilometers round trip per day. Young grade 6 students traveling over 85 kilometers per day to attend school is not acceptable when there are local alternatives. Barnhill is a crowded school, already at 79% functional capacity, and our feeder schools are well over 100% capacity. RVMS is only at 43% functional capacity. If it is considered acceptable to send students out of their community, why not send the Barnhill students to a school with room and with significantly better assessment results for reading and science, such as RVMS? Late French immersion split classes would have been a more equitable and economical solution. A second troubling decision. All early French immersion will now take place at Westfield School, starting with first grade next year. Bay Primary and Inglewood School will eventually stop having any French immersion students. Once this is fully implemented, it will impact enrollment to the extent that a new school for the community could be off the table. We absolutely cannot in any way accept a situation where those schools will just be closed and our students bused to St. John, much like the RVMS late French immersion students. We have to ask, why are schools in the city being prioritized as a better alternative? People move to our town so that people could have their children educated here in our community. It is unacceptable that our families are being made to choose between their children learning the second language of the only bilingual province in Canada or going to school with their family and their friends. Should these changes move ahead, some of the negative effects our kids will and their families will be active transportation for extracurricular and after school will no longer be an option. They won't be able to ride their bikes or walk to school. Long commutes will impact sleep hours, resulting in compromised ability to learn. If there's an issue with being driven to school because of no bus, late bus, etc., that won't be an option for some of our children, and they will be missing critical instructional hours. Many children will miss out on school extracurricular activities due to these extreme distances. These changes will break up siblings and families by taking children out of their community school. Children under the age of 7 will have to attend 2 physically different schools before they turn 8. The cost of transportation will increase for parents due to the extra distance, due to potential missed buses, extracurricular activities, after-school events for families that now would occur at Barnhill School. The reduced student population for the kids left here in Bay-Westfield will result in less extracurricular opportunities for students. The status quo has capacity, allowing the delivery of French immersion within their facilities. The rationale for these decisions is not strong enough. And let me be clear, none of these impacts are acceptable for our children. They deserve better, and we will fight for the educational experience they deserve and that they have the right to. In addition to fighting against these changes, we will be asking for solid assurances and a definitive commitment from the Government of New Brunswick that these decisions will not affect our new school project. We cannot be left behind again. Our residents deserve better. Our students deserve a modern facility where they are able to experience the full curriculum in an equitable way. Grand Bay-Westfield is growing. It's clear, we've all seen it. The province wants us to facilitate as much housing as possible. That means a growing population that we must serve. We need to ensure that our facilities are able to provide the full curriculum and provide an excellent learning environment, not only for our current students and families, but the ones that will come along with our projected growth. We need to ask the department, what is the governance surrounding a decision such as this? Where is the policy guiding decisions of this magnitude to our town? How is a decision made that affects the health, wellness, vitality, and growth of a community made zero communication, consultation, or inclusion of the community itself? These decisions seem to be made in a vacuum, and this is abjectly wrong, and we must make this clear. This decision was based on stone-cold numbers. We need to make it clear together as a community that our children are not numbers to be moved around an Excel spreadsheet until the totals look good. The educational experience of our children is greater than the sum of its parts, and we will fight as hard as we can for our kids and their families. Thank you. Item 4, record of attendance. Please let the record show that we have full council attendance tonight. Thank you, council. Item 5, agenda approval. The motion is that the council of the town of Grand Bay-Westfield approve the agenda of May 23rd, 2023 as presented. Do I have a motion? Thank you, Deputy Mayor Toole, and a second. Thank you, Councillor Balcom. Any questions or comments on the motion? There being none, all in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion is carried. Thank you, council. Item 6, disclosure of conflict of interest. Are there any? There being none, we'll move on to item 7, public hearings, presentations, delegations, and petitions. And 7A is Envision St. John, the Regional Growth Agency year in review. And we have Heather Ruby and Jillian McKinnon with Envision St. John here with us tonight. Thank you for joining us, and the floor is yours.
Good evening. Thank you, Your Worship and Council, as well as staff and community at large. I'm Heather Libby.
And I'm Jillian McKinnon, and we're very pleased to be here. I've been here a couple times, so you might recognize me. Heather was here prior to me being here, so we're familiar faces. But we're happy to be here tonight. So Envision St. John, the Regional Growth Agency, is just over 2 years old, so we're here to present some of what we accomplished in 2022. I almost said change the slide, but you told me that I could do it myself. So let's see here. Does that show up there?
Yeah.
Okay. So Don Mills is probably a familiar name to many in the room. So he is, commentator on economics and policy, and he looked at our agency and he had this to say about Envision St. John. So I just want to share this quote with the group tonight. Envision St. John is about cultivation, not the acquisition of growth. It's about creating the conditions for growth and developing an ecosystem that is growth ready. Envision St. John is not directly about job creation, but about ensuring the conditions for job creation are in place, in other words, to be growth ready. And I think many of you have heard us talk about the attraction pillars. We're trying to attract people, visitors, business, and investment, but at the same time, we have to be growth ready for that. And we've just even talked about your own schools here and being growth ready and some challenges that you're facing there. So it's just a little bit about what Don had to say about the agency. So we are the marketing, sales, and support engine for the region, and tonight we'd like to share some of the big wins for the region that were accomplished in 2022 and help to convey the role that Envision St. John, the Regional Growth Agency, actually played. So this is not comprehensive of everything we did in 2022, but we did want to pull a sampling together for you. So the first one, this is where you've seen me before. I was out here to talk about the Place brand. So in 2022, we launched the inaugural Place brand for the region, Always Moving Forward. This was a very deliberate, data-driven approach to the development of the Place brand. It included listening tours, market research, the creation of a new brand persona, and guidelines for external marketing and communications to sell the region to our prospective residents, business, visitors, and investors. We also launched a new website in 2022, and on that website, There are videos, there's the Why St. John for different audiences. We continue to add to the website as we get feedback from different partners. You will find our quarterly impact reports there, you will find our quarterly financials. So our website's really actually evolved and continued to grow since we launched it in 2022. And what we've done with the Place brand, and Heather will talk a little bit about this going forward, is we have now taken that Place brand and evolved it for a particular audience around talent. So the attraction and retention of workforce for the region. So that'll be the next campaigns that you start to see using our Place brand. Heather's going to talk a bit about the next one.
The Regional Growth Dashboard 2.0. You can find this on our website across the top, called Dashboard. And we have a quote here from David Campbell. He used to be the chief economist for the province and a nationally and internationally recognized economist. And we shared it with him to get his validation and input before we launched it live. This is not our agency's data. This is not measuring what the agency does. This is around the health and wealth of our region. So you can go there and find information on leisure, population growth, trade, real estate, tourism, and quality of life. It's a really dynamic site where anybody can go and access it, whether you are making a decision about whether you want to live here, whether you want to invest here, or simply if you would like to give us a call, and if you are maybe the CAO of Bay-Westfield, how you can help avail of some of the data and data sets that we own to inform some of the work that you're doing. So one of our core services is data and measurement, and we're really leaning into this space because we want to make sure that we're making decisions informed by data and forecasting, and so that we are making the right decisions.
Sorry, I just want to let council know and our public know, Envision St. John's been a terrific partner. I think we're now our third project, I think, supplying data to us to make informed decisions. So I just want to support what Heather and Jillian have said. They've been great partners in providing what we need.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Yeah, so we see it as an opportunity to create capacity for our investors.
So those are a couple of examples of work and core services that are core to the foundation of building the new agency, building the new brand, building the data sets. Now we're going to walk through some instances where we've supported external partners. So I'll just read this quote from Dr. Petra Hoff, VP at St. John at the University of New Brunswick. Envision St. John facilitated the relationship building that was critical in getting the infrastructure funding approved. The recent $27.2 million infrastructure announcement would not have been possible without the efforts and support of the agency. And Dr. Petra Hoff is talking about the University of New Brunswick Integrated Health Initiative, which is developing a world-class center of excellence in applied health innovation in New Brunswick. And in 2022, so there are people who are already enrolled in this program. But in order for the program to roll, for them to expand on their offerings, they needed to have a social innovation building, actually. So there was some infrastructure money that was required. We helped articulate the why it was important for the region, how it would attract new money through research chairs. It's an actual part of the strategy around a more fulsome health and technology district in St. John that's potentially happening up there with a private investor. So there's a whole cluster of things happening up in that area that we call Tucker Park. So we helped, open some doors, talk to some new people, and articulate why this was important.
Next, you would have heard of the announcement in January about an international school, French school called Lycée, that has selected St. John as the home of its new French school that will attract international students as well as enroll local students. They were planning on bringing over 90 teachers and administrators, and they currently have selected Market Square as their location. Our role was we helped showcase the community as well as put the RFP out to the commercial real estate teams to be able to provide them with all the information they needed to be able to make an informed decision. We were up against Moncton and Halifax as well, but they really believed in the vitality of what they saw in the region. And everybody coming together was very palatable to them. They really noticed our community strength and the vitality of our community. What's important about this, it's more than just a school. It's an economic development opportunity. Because this is signaling that we have a school, an international school, it's the first one in 40 years that's being built, a lycée that's being built here in Canada, selecting St. John. That is a cue to international and national investors and business people, as well as candidates for jobs. So this is an excellent value prop around how we start talking about St. John as a punching above its weight, because a community in a region this size, to attract a school like this signals there's a lot more going on than just a school.
Here's another example. I'm sure you've all heard about the vision for the refurbishment of the courthouse, the Playhouse at St. John Theatre Company. So the way that the agency was able to support Executive Director Stephen Tobias was really, articulating the economic why it was important for talent recruitment, the building out of a cultural district in Uptown, which is so important to the vitality where somebody wants to live and visit, and that tourism lens as well. So people do travel for arts and culture. So we're really starting to see, a bit of a district, I've used that term twice now, but being built there around King Square. So we were able to, again, we often call them like a pitch deck. So we put together some slides and helped articulate why this was a good investment. In particular, it was for a presentation to the City of St. John, and Stephen was successful in acquiring some funding to help move that project along. So we did support him in telling that story and why this was a good investment.
Memorial Cup, everybody should know about this. This was actually the first time that the mayors signed a joint letter of support that was presented to the Premier. And that signaled quite a bit in terms of being able to unlock funds, because it represented collaboration and a unity in the region around what were our priorities. And our role, we also helped convene the right people. We didn't have a long runway to get this done. We brought all the right people together and we accelerated the process to get the pitch in. We were up against Quebec City and we won this. And in fact, a small anecdote, while the Memorial Cup was going on, the lycée happened to be visiting and said, I want to be part of this community. And that ties into more of the festivals and sporting events that are coming back to our region.
Which leads us to our next slide. So Area 506 and the Waterfront Container Village. So prior to Vision St. John, the legacy destination marketing organization Discover St. John was a founding investor in Area 506, which is now a signature festival for the province of New Brunswick, celebrating music, culture, and goods. They have expanded it now and branched out in their brand in a couple different ways. The success of the festival and the support that the team continues to get within the region. They've launched a second one, the Boxcar Music Festival, which is going to be the weekend before. They've also gone out in their product offering and developed the Waterfront Shipping Container Village, which hopefully most people were able to look at last year. They've made some tremendous additions this year. It's just fantastic, and it just opened on the weekend. So working with Ray Gracewood, we continue to amplify that event and promote it along with the province, because again, it is a signature provincial festival. Last year we went in on a welcome center. So you've heard the term visitor information centers before, VICs. We're starting to call them more regional welcome centers, and we're training the staff in there on a no wrong door policy. So if you come in as a new resident and want a question about a school, or if you want to know where you could perhaps, if you're an entrepreneur, get some advice, those people are trained to direct them back to Vision St. John for different navigation services. So this year in 2023, we've expanded on that pilot and are actually partnering with Port St. John in a larger container, sharing a more comprehensive story of the Bay of Fundy Tides, what's happening at the port, which we all know is a transformational opportunity for the whole region, and delivering our services there. So that's been a very successful partnership for the agency even prior to Vision St. John, and we continue to support it.
The port, part 2. You've all seen there's been an addition of 2 new cranes. The growth at the port is significant, and we are so fortunate to have an asset like this. Nobody else has Port St. John. So how do we lean into that work? So the first part was we participated in a workforce partnership, because we recognize that if with all of this increased development and capacity at the port, we're going to need training and we're going to need recruitment. Where are those coming from? How do we help develop that pipeline? So we partnered with Working NB, partnered with the port to develop strategies around that. We are now moving into a larger program where it's around land assembly and thinking about the logistics pipeline and all of the other comprehensive, there are multiple pillars that are all stemming from this work, and lots of people are working on that. So how do we actually coordinate and get one single vision and everybody lining up in collaboration so everybody knows who's doing what? So we can, if it's unlocking funds federally, we come as one. If it's around safety issues, we show up as one. So that's the work that we are bringing forward with the port. More to come on this. This is probably the big plan for 2023, is pulling more of this work together. But I'd love to just highlight Craig Estabrooks' quote. He's the CEO of Port St. John. "The collective impact model at Envision St. John means we are no longer working in silos. They are galvanizing the right players locally, provincially, and federally. We have seen this at the port. We are working lockstep with Envision St. John." The city, the airport, industrial park, every aspect of the community is showing up, and we're trying to get that alignment, and that alignment is where we're going to see results.
So those are the 8 examples that we brought forward, and then I just want to talk a little bit about a scorecard that we developed. So it's no secret that we have developed 10-year outcomes, which was to grow the region's population by 25,000, increase municipal tax base by 30 to 35%, and improve the place rent for the region, and develop strong ambassadors for the people that live and work here. But it became clear to us that people were looking for a bit more data. So we have some more data. So in 2022, we introduced a scorecard that aligns with the 4 pillars of attraction that we talk about, so people, visitors, business, and investment. So this is a baseline for going forward, and Heather's going to talk a little bit here about the people attraction scorecard. We're not going to go into every number, but she can kind of walk you through some highlights.
So you can see the first column, or the second column is the objectives, then it gets into the indicators, and then the third are some of the initiatives that we were doing to drive some of this. And the indicators that we have here are the ones that are tied to the pedal funding that we get annually. So they measure us on this, and they have set targets, and you can see here that we've met all of these targets. And on the bottom in your package, you'll see some of the highlights around some of the significant growth that we've made in the population aspect.
Yeah, and this is the only section of the scorecard that actually came with targets. So as we build in 2023, we'll be able to do some year-over-year comparison. We have done a little bit of it here on the visitor side, and what we opted to do here is actually go back to 2019, which was the last full year that wasn't impacted by any COVID-19 restrictions. Even last year, up until March, there was still on and off lockdowns and different things, so it didn't make sense to even go back against 2021. Position St. John and the Towns by the Bay as the destination of choice in the Maritimes for leisure, travel, meetings, conventions, sports, and major events. You know, our occupancy rate in 2022 for the second half of the year, or from April to December, was exceeding on average pre-pandemic levels. So for the full year, we didn't quite beat the occupancy of 2019, but from April to December, we were trending higher than we were in 2019. We've got cruise back, which everybody is quite excited about. It adds a lot of vibrancy to the uptown. There's a couple other metrics in there. The last 2, just for clarity, the economic impact of conventions, sports, major events hosted in a year. That would be the economic impact of the events that were hosted in 2022 that the agency played a role in. And then the next number would be the economic impact of future events that we won in 2022. So that's the difference there. Sometimes there's a bit of confusion.
The next one is on business attraction, and this is ensuring companies can start up, scale up, and obtain access to capital and build relationships with established businesses. We do support entrepreneurs. There's still a lot of thought that we walked away from this traditional economic development. We still support businesses and entrepreneurs. We run an impact loan program that's within the city. We have relationships with CBDC for the rural communities in the region. We are regularly have intake where we help entrepreneurs navigate the system, whether we can offer the capital or point them in the direction. It could be a different federal fund to access capital. We're now using some of our data to inform some of the decisions that we can advise our entrepreneurs with. And we're also hosting investment attraction clients. These are clients that are coming sometimes through OMB, sometimes they come in through our investors, sometimes they just call us through our website. So these are people who are saying, I've heard things that are happening in the region, I want to be part of this. So we're, in the past, so when I used to work at Opportunities New Brunswick, nobody knew where St. John and the St. John region was. Nobody knew where New Brunswick was. We are now having people saying, I heard things are happening, I want to be part of this. So our work, as much as we're capturing this here, is going to be on the growth readiness for these people. Are we ready? Do we understand our real estate offerings for some of these groups? Do we understand some of the infrastructure corridors that we might need to have in place? So we're working in the business lane a lot.
And then the final section of the scorecard, Heather's going to walk through that, is really around the attraction of investment.
So we've captured it here in the value in GDP. So for the lycée, it's 15.5 million GDP. The Integrated Health Initiative, the Jillian reference at UNB.
We're not attached at the hip.
I don't know where
Jennifer came from.
Is 44.5 million, and then the St. John Courthouse revitalization is 6.5 million in GDP that will be coming back into our community. So we also have some highlights here about building permits and housing starts and the record rate of development and market absorption. So we have on deck for 2023 is really a focus on some strategic real estate and strategic real estate sales, because we know we can't just attract people and not be ready for them in terms of housing, in terms of infrastructure, in terms of all the growth readiness things that we have referenced.
And we won't spend a lot of time here because this is our last slide, and we appreciate your time and allowing us to walk through this. But this, I think you have the presentation as well. It talks about some of the things that we have on deck for 2023. We did talk about talent, and Heather, maybe you could give out 30 seconds on what's happening
tomorrow. Is Powered by People. It is an event for employers. We had recognized through our discovery as building our strategy around workforce development is that there's an awful lot of supports for people looking for work, not as much around the employer supports. There's a lot of support in the community, but how can we accelerate or shorten that or strengthen that connection between the supports and the employers? So we're having an event tomorrow. There's about 150 employers coming. Tanya Chapman's going to do a keynote about post-COVID recruitment, and it's a new day. So we're looking at this as a real opportunity to serve the employers in the community that we heard didn't feel that they were getting what they needed from their regional economic development agency.
Another one that I'll just touch on, just the last one, and then we'll open it up if anybody has any questions, is on the destination marketing side. So we did do a rollout to the tourism industry on May the 2nd at the Delta, which we had been doing at Discover St. John for a number of years, and then COVID came and it wasn't really appropriate to be doing those big rollouts because we never knew what we were actually going to be able to do within the year, and was it appropriate to do them face to face. So it was very well received. We were very excited to be doing it again, and so we walked people through. It's a pretty comprehensive portfolio that we do on the destination marketing and sales side. So that includes 2 full-time salespeople who are selling for meetings and conventions, trying to attract sport tourism, and working with major festivals, events, and other cultural opportunities. And then, of course, travel trade, cruise. We support cruise, we support travel trade, and then we have a fulsome leisure marketing campaign as well. Several that go throughout the year. So that's another thing that we have on deck. Our campaign's just launched actually on the week of May the 9th. So we are now out in the market trying to attract visitors for the 2023 season.
And I would just like to add one more that I think will be quite relevant to this audience as well, and it's around the doctor recruitment. We've been successful in receiving $100,000 from the Department of Health, which is available to all of the other regions, but we already had a program in place in partnership with Down Med Family Medicine and a strategy for short, medium, and long term around how we can retain those family medicine residents in our community and get them up and working faster, because that's also one of the challenges. So we are collaborating with them. Like I said, we are able to provide entrepreneurial support for businesses. We're taking that same skill set and we're moving it and we're helping the doctors. So you can see how the model of the agency is really working in all of the examples that we shared with you today.
So, thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Heather. Thank you, Jillian, for that. I'll open the floor to questions from council. Does anybody have any questions? Councilor Murphy?
Thank you. So where is this employer event held?
Tomorrow it is going to be at the Trade and Convention Center. It starts at 8 a.m. We can put your name on the list if you would like to be there and have you get you registered.
So is this for people also looking for jobs? Or you
No, it is for employers.
Okay.
And there's going to be an employer marketplace, so there will be 17 services and private sector and public that they can connect with. But in the afternoon, there is a career fair. There is a career fair, and it's on our social media channel about what's happening. There's a career fair, and it's in the Market Atrium. Market Square Atrium, and there is over 30 employers who are going to be there. There's also going to be supports for anybody, if you come with your resume and you need some support, they'll have all, they're inside the library, and there'll be all kinds of wayfinding, people know what to do, that you can go and get additional supports to help you feel more confident, networking or having a conversation or even looking at your resume. So it's a full meal deal. We're partnering with Opportunities New Brunswick and Working in B on that for everything.
And the chamber.
And the chamber. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else have any questions? I just want to thank you. John, you.
No, I was just gonna say, again, supporting what they said in the presentation about supporting entrepreneurs. Brock and I met with Vision St. John and the Chamber with our local business group that's developing. We had a very positive, constructive meeting. I just can't reiterate enough, council, how good this organization is. We pay more than I would have thought we would pay, and I do believe that we're getting value. And I do think that, I do share everything that goes on, that I know of with them, and just pleased to be a part of that organization. And I do think that it's money well spent for the town of Grand Bay-Westfield.
Thank you. Thank you, John. So yes, thank you. I appreciate you coming and presenting to council. I know we seem to see you a lot, but it's really important that council be fully informed on the work that Envision is doing on behalf of the town of Grand Bay-Westfield and the region as a whole, because once council is informed, we can also tell Envision's story to the people in the community as well. Like business attraction, setting the stage to make sure we are growth ready, pushing forward like platform projects like Area 506 or the Memorial Cup that funnel dollars into the local economy. Those are things that we all need across the board. And projects like the Lycée, that's just an amazing project. It's a signature project, bringing over 100 staff, and I think at the end of it, over approximately 900 students to the region. And with that staff and with those students come family. And these families are going to need places to live in towns like Grand Bay-Westfield and around the region. So we really appreciate the work you've been doing on things like that, and how you have supported us specifically in the projects that we've requested data and supported. So we do appreciate the work that's been done. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Our pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good meeting.
Thanks. Have a great night. You too. Thanks. So the motion is that the council of the town of Grand Bay-Westfield receive and file the information as presented. Do I have a motion? Thank you, Councillor Bailmans. Do I have a second? Councillor McIntosh Lawrence. Any questions or comments on the motion? There being none, all in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion is carried. Thank you, Council. 7B, Veterans Peace Park update, and we have Corey Ryan with the Peace Park Committee here to present for us.
Thank you.
How are you? Thank you for coming.
So tonight I just want to give an update on where we are, where we've come and kind of our plan for 2023, summer of 2023. I know we met initially a few years ago and got the approval of council to move forward, but I always like to come at every phase so everybody knows what project is coming up, so whether you're a council or a town employee and you're asked, you kind of know what's going on in that area of town. So this year, I think you guys I have a diagram as well. We are going to work on what is called the Peace Walk and the Peace Walk and the Peace Plaza. So the Peace Walk is the traditional cross that is going into the park. And at the head of that, there will be a round circle of pavers. So our plan this year is to remove the current walkway. It's a variety of 6 feet, 7 feet, and 8 feet. It's all going to be replaced with 8-foot feet concrete, all the way in the same cross that we currently have. At the head of that, the plan is to have a circle of pavers with the peace symbol in the paver. On top of the Peace Plaza will be benches that are carved by the same carver that did our entrance, with poppies, and the benches will all be in memory of a veteran in Grand Bay-Westfield. So I have family sponsors on 3 benches already. Those that are benches will all be facing inwards towards the flags. The entrance that we currently have, our plan is to remove that, store it, and reinstall it once we get the walkway in. So it's mounted right on the concrete. The concrete as well, it'll be engraved or sandblasted, I guess, is what we're going to do. With the words respect, honor, and peace on the way in. There'll be 6 feet by 10 inches. And on the way, on English on the way in, and French on the way back out. Okay? Those are the 3 words initially we're going to put in there, and going forward we'll be using the same words, peace, honor, and respect, but in different languages as we move forward in other years. The current monument that we have there, been there a long time, our plan is to remove that current monument up to the Legion by the flagpole that we have there. So we have a second kind of private monument up at the Legion, like a lot of Legions do. That one will be moved out and placed next to the flagpole. So the question will be, what are we going to do for a monument? What we plan on doing is around the head of the circle. Next year, we're going to create 5 new monuments. One is going to have World War I, World War II. That's 2 monuments. A third monument will be Afghanistan and Korea. Peacekeepers on another one, and those who served on a 5th. Those ones there will have families' names engraved on those going forward. So our plan this year would be to have these kind of placeholders made for those, and just to kind of create some excitement and fundraising efforts going into the fall for that part of the phase for next year. So the budget for this year is one of the other things we want to talk about. So it's actually it's looking really good. I don't know if that was included in the package too, John, or did we include the budget that we have drawn up?
Yeah, I don't think so.
That's okay. So for this phase of the project, I have 2 kind of budget sheets done for this. One is for the Peace Walk and the Peace Plaza. Keel will be the contractor for that. That there is, tax included, is about $53,000. With that, the revenue we've already have is Crane Mountain, through their grant process this year, gave us $17,250. Veterans Affairs, through their War Memorial Project, gave us $14,600. The Community Investment Fund through the province of New Brunswick has given us $5. Through the Poppy Fund and another Legion account, we have another $9,300. And so that there's a lot of kind of government funding in that part. We also have the medicine shop, $1,000. The town of Bay-Westfield donated $1,000 to a grant project tonight. I was talking to David Duplessis from the Chamber last week, and the Chamber donated $750. And in the last week, I've been doing a lot of, going to businesses around Grand Bay, presenting a letter indicating where we've been and where we're going. And I was at Schulten's on Thursday or Friday, and I talked to Paul Gordon about, where we were, kind of what shortfall we have. And he was asking me, and I said, well, I have a little $5,000 shortfall. And he's like, well, what do you want? I'm like, $5,000. And he's like, $5,000 against, right? So he's like, I will give you up to $5,000. If you get other funding out of that, and it comes down, and you don't need $5,000, then just tell me, and we'll give more money next year. So I'm not worried about the budget now, right? We have that taken care of. I met with Chris Long at the new owner of Home Hardware this morning, and the same thing, gave him where our figures were. He didn't give me a figure, but he definitely said he will be giving us money this year. So I'm confident that we've got our budget taken care of. Even in some of the aspects of doing this, for instance, removing the current cenotaph, it's a big project. I mean, that's a big piece of cement. Dwayne Brown from Needle Lift contractor, I met with him a week or so ago about removing it, and he volunteered his service, no charge to remove it. So that's another big cost off of it. So I guess, and within that budget, we do have a couple of things that I met with John and Chris Crabb a few weeks ago, or a couple weeks ago about this. Part of our request to the town through doing this project is, we have equipment, we have employees. So one, when Keel did their budget for me initially in the fall of doing this project, I had them break it down by all the aspects. So we could kind of break it down on, how much it cost Keel to remove that current walkway. And that value was, that would have cost about $2,800. So that's one of the things that I met with John and Chris is, can that be an aspect that the town takes care of, right? We have the equipment to do that. The other is at the very end of the project, after the concrete's down, we need some restoration landscaping of some of the employees for laying sod or raking dirt and stuff like that. So those are other aspects that we had talked about. So I'm pretty confident that within those things and our money that we have, that we can get this project done. Keel is eager to get started. They want to get started fairly soon before they get really busy in the summer season. So kind of the next steps that I came here tonight, first was just to inform everybody, and the next was really to go back to the table and say, okay, do I have town approval again to go with this phase, right? To tear that place apart and put the new sidewalk, crosswalk in and the Peace Plaza. After that, I've already met with Keel again. I was meeting with Keel this morning and kind of gave them an update with where our finances were, and then I was coming here tonight. So they're ready to go as soon as we can get to go ahead. And other things, are a few other things with me, is just getting the entrance gate removed, the cenotaph removed. And then, once we get there, for Keel to meet with the works department of how the best way is to remove the sidewalk or the crosswalk so that we don't have, the underground is still in great shape, right? It's not moving around, so they would like it removed in such a way that we don't have to cost more money and more restoration later. And then off to construction, so that's where we are. So it's exciting. I say that every year that I come here and ask you, this is going to make it look, a big difference, and it just does. We've had a lot of positive feedback over the last couple of years from the flagpoles to the lamp poles and the lights on the trees, so it's transforming quite nicely.
Well, thank you, Corey. I'm going to open up the floor and see if council has any questions or comments. Councillor Day?
You mentioned benches.
Yes.
Do you have any information as to if a family wanted to purchase a bench, what it might cost them?
Yes, I do. Like I said, we have a plan for 4. I already have 3 veterans families that have requested them. So if I remember, the figure was around $800 is what it was.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a carved bench in the same manner as the gate.
Mm-hmm. So that's an opportunity if some family member wants to see you.
Yes, exactly.
Great.
Councillor Bowman?
When you tear up the concrete, will you have it flat same day so people can walk on it, or regrade it the same
Pardon
day?
me?
When you tear up the concrete walkway in, it'll be graded the same day. Still people can walk back, use it for walking still.
That would be up to Keel on their whatever their timeline is on having the town remove it in wherever to. Yes.
Nice to have it back up to par so we.
Right. Well, I think during the construction phase, I would assume the park would be completely roped off and nobody would be allowed in that area. Yeah.
Do you have any other questions or comments for Corey? Corey, I don't know if you have the rendering on the computer so that people at home can see what we're looking at, but
Yeah, there we are. Sorry.
it's certainly a transformational change from where it was a number of years ago. It's really beautiful. I really appreciate the regular updates on the work that you're doing, the work that the committee's planning on doing with the space and what it takes to get there and how community members can become involved and maybe help support the project. I think that's really wonderful. So, and I know that I hear a lot of positive things about the changes that have happened so far and that people are excited to see what's coming next. So I really appreciate you taking the time to, you know, keep us informed and keep the community informed on what's going on. And for all the incredible hard work and passion that you're showing with this project. It's, you know, it benefits the community as a whole, and I really appreciate that. I know we all do as well.
Great.
So thank you very much. Anybody else have anything? I guess you're free to go, Corey. So thanks very much, I really appreciate it.
Take care.
Thanks, Claire.
So the motion is that the council of the town of Grand Bay-Westfield receive and file the information as presented. Do I have a motion? Thank you, Councillor Bellmans, and I think that Councillor Murphy, was that a second? Yeah. Any questions or comments on the motion? There being none, all in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion is carried. Thank you, council. Item 8, minutes of previous meeting. 8A, regular council minutes of May 8th, 2023. The motion is that the council of the town of Grand Bay-Westfield adopt the minutes of the regular meeting of May 8th, 2023 as presented. Do I have a motion? Thank you, Deputy Mayor Toole. Do I have a second? Thank you, Councillor Murphy. Any questions or comments on the motion? There being none, all in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion is carried, thank you. Item 9 is unfinished business, there being none. We'll move on to item 10, bylaws, there are none this evening. 11, new business / recommendations. 11A, debenture, loader, and trackless. The motion is that the council of Grand Bay-Westfield authorize the mayor and the chief financial officer to sign the commitment letter from Scotiabank authorizing short-term borrowing of up to $553,000. Do I have a motion? Thank you, Councillor McIntosh Lawrence. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councillor Balcom. John, can you speak to the motion, please?
Sure, Your Worship, we're going to turn it over to the CFO, but I just want to say this is where the logistic chain was supposed to take 6 months and it took a month. And that's why we're where we are today. I'll turn it over to the CFO.
Thank you, John. Your Worship, if you recall, earlier in the year, Council approved a debenture from the province of approximately $600,000 for the purchase of a loader and a trackless. The loader has been purchased and financed through our reserves as an interim financing measure. However, the debenture is not due to be paid out to us until later in the year. We initially anticipated the trackless would take 6 months to be delivered because of supply constraints. However, it took 6 weeks to be delivered. So this financing from the bank is just short term. It allows us to pay for the trackless upon delivery. When we have enough money in our bank account, we'll be repaying this to minimise the interest that we have to pay.
Thank you, James. Do you have any questions or comments on the motion? There being none, all in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion is carried. Thank you, council. Item 11B, keel blasting. This is a long motion. So I'll read the motion and then we'll get the RCAO to speak to it. The motion is that the council of the town of Grand Bay-Westfield approve blasting as per condition 3 on the existing 2023 excavation permit for lands identified by PIDs number 000930088 00227546 00227595 30042899 with the following additional conditions for blasting to include 1. Copy of certificate of insurance and blaster's license to be provided to the town prior to the scheduled blast. 2. Require 72-hour advance notice to surrounding property owners by the operator to a radius of 600 meters from the blast site, including residents on Birchie Drive, Timberley Manor Drive, and Hillendale Drive, and between civic numbers 79 and 227 Narrowfus Road. complete with provision for all necessary pre-blast surveys and seismic recording. 3, operator to provide a minimum of 72-hour notice to the town, including council, WorkSafe NB, RCMP, Ambulance NB, Grand Bay-Westfield Fire and Rescue Department, NB Power Transmission Lines, and ELG, Department of Environment and Local Government, prior to a scheduled blast. 4, blasting be limited to weekdays, the month of July or August. 5, restricted to clear sky conditions. 6, provide pre-blast audible warnings. 7, handling and use of explosives by qualified powder man under Occupational Health and Safety Act and regulations. And 8, blasting report by the operator to be provided to the town after the blast, including measures of concussions not to exceed 128 decibels and vibrations not to exceed 1.25 cm per second. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Councillor Bowmans. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councillor Balcom. Do you have any, actually, John, I will get you to speak to the motion before I ask for questions and comments.
Sure, yeah. The last time they blasted was around 2020. The Planning and Development Officer, Councillor Bailmans, attended and went off without incident, and we did not receive any reports or complaints from nearby residents. Again, it was during the summer. I'd like to clarify a couple things. One is a lot of this is for inventory management on the part of Keel. So it's not just about hauling all that rock out this summer, but they did, last time they did blasting was 2020. So if they have the same demand, they may not come back until 25 or 26 for another blast permit. So it shouldn't really affect the number of trucks going up and down. That'll depend on the business that they have during that period. And again, I think it was last council meeting that we had in there again that they had to do street sweeping and stuff like that. And having been on that street to check it out more than a couple of occasions, that street is probably the cleanest street in town. And the one day I was there, I think I could have eaten off of it. Not that I would, I'm just saying that's how clean it was. So this has gone well. The reason for a clear sky is so that any of the noise won't hit the cloud cover and then come down. So every reasonable step has been taken to mitigate any effects on the neighborhood or further down, and especially not affect the school, which is there. The other option for council that we can communicate to Keel is that they perhaps start developing another exit out of the pit to go down where I understand the old SO station used to be, or my lingo for being new here, there's vacant land north of Westfield School. They own it. Can they convert that to a road? Is there anything I should add to that, David? Okay, yeah, I think that's it, Your Worship.
Thanks, John. Do you have any questions or comments on the motion? Councillor Day?
I'm very glad to see that the clear sky is still maintained in there, because the only time we've ever had any issue with blasting up there was a day we had cloud cover. And since then, we've had successful blasting, and we have not seen the residents here all upset. And so I'd like to see that, and I'm glad we're just still doing it, because nothing worse than upsetting people with blasting.
Any other questions or comments on the motion? There being none, all in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? The motion is carried. Thank you, Council. Item 11C, trail development, Majestic Road to Brandy Point Road. John, can you speak to the item, please?
This was added to the agenda, Your Worship, at the request of Councillor Bailmans. I'll ask him to speak to it.
Well, we have land, the town owns land up between Majestic and Branford Road. And this is a sewer line also for the pump from Branford Road up to Majestic. So this is a good trail system for people to walk on and have access to Branford Road, because Branford Road Hill is quite grade, to about 18% grade, I think, or more. It's hard on elderly people like myself to climb it. So nice to have access off to Branford Trail, go up to Majestic, and that's good from Majestic to use the trail system, and we're trying to expand our town to include everybody to go walking and keep off the main roads. So that's a good step towards dispatching for our elderly people who can't use the hill. I mean, they can walk by the river and use the water acts, like walk by the river and walk back up the trail and whatever. It could be a dog park down the road too, walk dogs and bike and whatever you need to do. So there's other things down the road also to put on that property. So right now the trail system is start and we can do other things. That's probably they have a public purpose for town to use. So.
Thank you, Councillor Bellman. Do we have any questions or comments on the item? Any questions for Councillor Bellman or for staff on this?
Your Worship, just asking for council to direct us to investigate this and the feasibility of it. That's what I'm recommending council ask of us.
Yes, that's.
We received the request last Wednesday. We have not had time to do any work except prepare a map, just so council knows where the councillor is talking about.
Right, okay. Thank you. Yeah, no, I agree. I think that, directing staff to investigate the feasibility of it is a good idea, but I just want to open it up for any questions in the meantime if they, yes, Councillor McIntyre-Lawrence.
I think it's a great idea, the more trails the better, but I do agree we need more information on a feasibility study and if it was on the capital project list, we just need more information.
It was not placed on the capital project list.
Thank you. Any other Councillor Bellman?
Well, I think we need more like a volunteer base. It's really open already, pretty close to open. So all we need to do is put some fresh rock down and maybe extend a few culverts up on Majestic. And a little more, we probably do our something. The community can do it themselves almost. They want to invest into us and help out and keep costs down and maybe be a new system for our town. We want to open up our streets or community trails to people, and I think it'd be very, very cost effective to do this ourselves, and then whatever we can't do, be low on the budget, very, very small amount of money. So, yeah.
Just a comment, Your Worship. I think it's a great idea. It could lay the foundation for other types of small little walking trails on land that the town already owns, and we know that the town does not have that large of an inventory of land, so it would be great to do a pilot with one. I'm going to familiarize myself with that over the next week or two. I think the real decision point for me as a councillor would be to see how much unbudgeted money it would cost for us to do that. Money is tight this year, but if it's something that the councillor says that we could get some volunteers to do, a scout group or air cadet group or something that has to do community projects, perhaps we can keep that bottom line down real low. But I'd like to wait for the staff report to give.
Any other questions or comments on the item? Okay, and then the motion is that the council of the town of Bay-Westfield direct administration to investigate the feasibility of a trail connecting Brandy Point Road to Majestic Road. Do I have a motion?
So
Thank you, Councillor Balcom. Do I have a second? Thank you, Councillor Burpee. All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion is carried. Thank you, Council. Thank you, Councillor Bellman, for bringing that forward. Item 11D, FCM resolution establishing an urgent intergovernmental platform on mental health. And before I dive into the motions, I'll just explain what this is for anybody that's at home and doesn't know what FCM is. FCM is the Federation of Canadian Municipalities, and it's a national federation of municipalities from all over the country. And resolutions are items of importance that municipalities vote on, and they become points for advocacy for the federation with the federal government and some provincial governments and territorial authorities for the year to come. Each resolution is valid for 3 years, at which point they decide whether it's been resolved, whether it's been retired, or whether it should become standing policy. There are 3 resolutions that we need to vote on this year that I'm asking for council decisions on. And we will go with the first one. I'll read the motion and then I will provide some background and a recommendation for council to consider. The first resolution is establishing an urgent intergovernmental platform on mental health. The motion is that the Council of the Town of Grand Bay-Westfield approve the establishing of an urgent intergovernmental platform on mental health resolution and that it be forwarded to the FCM agenda resolution process on May 27th, 2023. Do I have a motion? Thank you, Councillor Burpee. Do I have a second? Councillor McIntosh Lawrence, thank you. So this year's annual conference presents a critical opportunity to call on the federal government to prioritize intergovernmental collaboration on mental health on behalf of municipalities. A federal commitment to convene tripartite policy discussions aimed at making mental health an integral part of Canada's universal healthcare system with a view to establishing constitutionally valid intergovernmental platform focusing on mental health would facilitate better coordination amongst all levels of government in Canada and ensure the perspective of municipalities is heard. By working together, all order of government can help to ensure that Canadians have access to the mental health and supports they need regardless of their location or background. Do you have any questions or comments on the motion? There being none, all in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion is carried. Thank you, Council. The next one, 11E, FCM resolution, new growth framework for Canadian municipalities. The motion is that the Council of the Town of Grand Bay-Westfield approve the new growth framework for Canadian municipalities resolution and that it be forwarded to the FCM AGM resolution process on May 27th, 2023. Do I have a motion? Thank you, Deputy Mayor Toole. Do I have a second? Thank you, Councillor Burpee. The recommendation here is we want to advocate for increased federal funding for municipalities. That's been central to FCM's mandate for years, and it's been a key feature of our advocacy in recent federal budgets and federal elections. When I had the opportunity to speak to a number of our federal counterparts at advocacy days in December, things like doubling the CCBF and other funding streams that support municipalities was a key part of that. You know, the fiscal framework that we're currently operating within is old and we've outgrown it. We have aging municipal infrastructure, there's issues with climate change that we need to mitigate, increasing complex health, social, and community safety challenges, and we've seen the downloading of those services from the provincial government, or some of the mandates surrounding those services from the provincial government to municipalities in the recent year. So this combines to make our financial situation more precarious than it was perhaps 10 years ago. So this resolution highlights the inadequacy of the current fiscal framework and calls on FCM to lead a process that results in new revenue tools for municipalities that better align with the realities of our fiscal capacity, population growth, economic growth, and services that we are increasingly asked to provide. Are there any questions or comments? Being none, all in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion is carried. Thank you, Council. 11F, FCM resolution, urgent action needed to address the crisis of homelessness. The motion is that the Council of the Town of Grand Bay-Westfield approve the urgent action needed to address the crisis of homelessness resolution and that it be forwarded to the FCM AGM resolution process on May 27th, 2023. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Councillor Balcom, and a second from Councillor McIntosh Lawrence. Thank you. This one simply asks FCM to lobby the Government of Canada to take several immediate steps to address the homelessness crisis in Canada, which is a major concern for municipalities. We see it here more than we have in my recent and past memory. The federal government is urged to recognize that this crisis requires immediate action from all levels of government. We're requesting that government provide long-term funding to address homelessness, ensure long-term stable funding for the wraparound supports that will help prevent those that are living rough from staying that way. And so we need supports for that for provinces, and also to create a national strategy to tackle homelessness through building and making permanent, current housing and homelessness programs. Do we have any questions or comments on the motion? There being none, all in favor? Oh, I got a motion in a second, sorry. All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion is carried. Thank you, council. I appreciate the decision, so I can take that to STM when I go this week. 11G, education programming changes. And John, before I read the motion, I'm going to get you to speak to the item, please.
Thank you, Worship. It was brought to our attention and our CFO attended a meeting in which there's discussion around education programming changes to French immersion, both early and late French immersion. The late immersion change is that students participating in that will be bused to Barnhill Memorial School, which is on, I hope I pronounce this right, Manawagish. Okay. And then the other change is that the early French immersion will move from Granbury Primary to Westfield School. Over the weekend, I corresponded with the Deputy Minister, and then we had a quick meeting this morning. He's meeting with the superintendent and his leadership team tomorrow, and then he's going to be finding out more behind that decision. My understanding, both through the Deputy Minister and through our DEC member, is that there is no policy that guides superintendents in these decisions except numbers. This is a number-driven process undertaken by the superintendent, which raises a couple of questions from our perspective that it would be good to follow up with, not only now, but perhaps through resolution with UMNB, that the Ministry of Education superintendents specifically here, and this could go to health and go to DTI and go to environment when they're talking about environmental protection. There should be meaningful consultation with municipalities. To the best of my knowledge, that has not occurred and it was not required on the part of the superintendent. This is just the ethic of what makes sense in the bottom line. I know there are other jurisdictions, and I'll cite Saskatchewan where I moved from, where they have to do consultation. And I'd be more than happy at another time to give an anecdote. So then the other thing that is a definite gap here is that there really doesn't seem to be any policies guiding the decision-making of the superintendent or their staff on recommendations. And this is a clear oversight. He did not have to go to DEC. He did not have to consult with us. So there's some gaps here in the way education consults business. I think we should advocate on those. We do have parent groups who are working hard to advocate for this. So there's very much complementary items that are going on here, Your Worship. Is there a different type of update you want me to provide, or?
No, I just wanted you to give that back. I mean, my opening remarks covered a lot of it,
Yes, I
but
thought so.
I guess. But, so I'm going to read the motion and then I'm going to open the floor to comments and questions. So the motion is that the Council of the Town of Grand Bay-Westfield request Superintendent Derek O'Brien attend Council's June 12th meeting to help parents and Council understand the decision and communicate the town's position on the decision, and support the school task force and the River Valley Home and School Committee's efforts to rescind the changes as described and work towards a sustainable model for the delivery of French immersion programming, and encourage the Ministry of Education to consult with municipalities regarding significant operational changes affecting communities, and encourage the Ministry of Education to develop policies guiding superintendents when making significant operational changes affecting municipalities. Do I have a motion? Thank you, Councillor Burpee. Do I have a second? Thank you, Councillor McIntosh Lawrence. Any questions or comments on the motion? Councillor McIntosh Lawrence?
I'm wondering if we have any data from surrounding areas with similar numbers. If their students are required to travel.
So you're asking, can we see the data from the region
Right.
and make sure that this is being applied equitably across
And
the
also,
entire
yes,
region?
yes, and also, like you mentioned in your opening remarks, why are students not coming from a school that has 79% capacity to a school that has 43% capacity? Why is it vice versa?
So these are questions that we can certainly forward to the deputy minister and the minister as well. Any other questions or comments? Councillor Bellman?
We're getting a lot of emails on my thing, the flash point about people just concerned about this, what's going on here. For email and a lot of email going on, concerned what's going on here, so it's a concern for everybody in our community.
Thank you, Councillor Bellman. Deputy Martin.
Councillor Bellman said that I've received numerous emails from people. It's a huge impact, and we had no idea until we got the letter, which, you know, the fact that the mayor didn't know, the council didn't know, the MLA didn't know, it was just, it's not a good situation. Having been here for years, and I think we talked about this ages ago, we talked about trying to get a new school, and our ourselves onto this new school list is, we have tons of kids here, but every single time a school is closed or there's a list for a new school, the decision seems to be made to move them all into St. John. Like Morna Heights School closed, the kids from Morna Heights School used to go to River Valley Middle School. That school closed, all those schools now go into town. Like every single decision seems to be moving the kids out of Bay-Westfield instead of providing us with infrastructure for those kids. And I believe Councillor McIntosh Lawrence mentioned that River Valley Middle School, one thing, it's newer than Barn Hill. It has much more capacity than Barn Hill. It's a great school, and we have a lot of room for it. And I don't know why they're moving kids in the other direction. It just makes no sense to me. We're sending kids who are, 2 feet outside of Grand Bay, and I'm not kidding. I have nephews who live very, very, very close to the line, and the decision is to send them to Beaconsfield or Island View or Barn Hill rather than the one they can bike to down the road. And I just find we seem to be always getting the bad end of the stick at Grand Bay-Westfield for the schools. We keep not getting a new school, we keep being bumped down, and then there's decisions by the superintendent to be made to lower our chances of getting the school because our schools won't have the capacity because they're sending them elsewhere. The kids are here, they're just being sent somewhere else. I don't get it, but I think I'm really happy to see the motion has the part that is, we want them to ask us and tell us what the policies are, why, so we can explain. I'm getting all these letters and we don't know how to explain to people because nobody tells us why these decisions are being made. So it's tough, and I have one of my child who's graduated. When I moved to Grand Bay-Westfield, we were expecting to get a new school, and he's now out of school, so this has been going on for a long time, but this is a really tough decision. And anecdotally, I grew up in Morna Heights area, and my parents sent me to Barn Hill because River Valley didn't have French immersion at that time. And 2 years later, my brother was able to go to River Valley because it had French immersion. And my community became West St. John and in St. John because I didn't know the kids from Grand Bay. I went to Morna Heights School, so I made friends later in high school that came from Inglewood and Grand Bay Primary. But my brother had all that community because he went to school right where he lived, and I didn't have that. So coming from, that was my situation 40 years ago, so it's a shame that it's happening again. So I get off my soapbox.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Councillor McIntosh Lawrence.
Another concern I have for the kids, primarily the late French immersion kids, besides the obvious ones like the traveling and the extracurricular activities and the having to go to bed early because they have to get up so early to travel, would be like kids nowadays have a lot of anxiety and mental health issues, and so they're going to school for 5 years, 6 years with their friends, and then they choose to do French immersion and they have to go to a brand new school and knowing no one and make new friends. Again, that puts a lot of pressure on kids that age, and it's going to be there'll be a lot of, I think, more mental health issues, anxiety. So I'm really concerned about that.
Councillor Day.
My heart breaks for the kids. I mean, this is their community. They can go to school, they can participate in after-school events. They walk to school with their friends, and now they gotta get on a bus earlier in the morning and go outside of the community for a service that we are getting in this community now. And I have been watching my emails this evening because we've been getting a lot of emails, and I'm going to read the latest one. My name is Vienna. I really want to do late French immersion, and I want to be in the same school as my friends. I do not want to go to a different school than my friends because I would really miss them. Also, I moved here almost about 2 years ago, and I do not want to move schools again. I feel like I will not see my friends ever again. So I really want to have late French immersion in River Valley Middle School. From someone who has moved around this country to different schools, it is very hard to make friendships. And it's about community. And there are a lot of people that were going to Morna School that are going to Barnhill now, who used to hang out with the kids in Bay-Westfield. And those friendships have all severed. So if we're gonna have a community, we need to have our children educated within our community.
Thank you, Councillor Day.
Are you
Councillor
having a special bus to bus these kids to school, like 12 kids all the way to St. John from where Warner Brown's class, all the way to St. John, or?
Well, I believe one of the concerns is that they're going to put them on buses with high school students. John is.
I can't speak to which bus is which, but my understanding is that existing busing routes and systems will be used, which suggests high school students, but I don't want to use those specific words. All I was told was existing busing routes and systems.
So you're putting a child on the, but he's going to school in St. John then?
I would say that's a possibility.
Wow, that's heartbreaking, isn't it?
Councillor Gotham?
Thank you, Your Worship. If these changes proposed by the superintendent and the district were to take place, it would be completely in the opposite direction that we collectively here and our residents who elected us are moving towards to grow this town. Somebody from afar who wants to move to any community, including Grand Bay, when they hire a real estate agent, one of the first questions that they ask, especially if they're families, is, what about the schools? Tell me, how far do they have a soccer field, etc. At one time it used to be hospitals, how far away is a hospital? It isn't that way anymore. It's about the questions about the schools. I wouldn't want to have to tell the real estate agent the answer to those questions if these were implemented. So I'm completely against the decision by the district and fully support anything that we can do to get that reverted back to the way that it was.
Thank you, Councillor Gotham. Councillor Murphy?
I would also just like to say that I agree with Councillor Backham about supporting any group that is making an effort to change this decision. There was no warning at all, no preparation for next year this could happen. At the 11th hour, it's leaving families scrambled for after-school care, and it's actually making it harder for the students to learn in both languages. So it's a step backwards.
Thank you, Councillor Murphy. Councillor Day?
I'd like to make another comment about this, and you've brought it up. We have southern New Brunswick. Let's basically call it English, although we have a huge French component. And as an employer that had to have bilingual staff, it's very, very difficult for our children to learn French and then try to get employment in a bilingual situation. And this is only going to compound having available workforce in both official languages in our own community. So somebody needs to give their head a shake.
So, on the motion, all in favor? Contrary minded? Motion is carried. Thank you. I just wanted to make a comment. I want to thank Council for supporting this motion. As mentioned in my earlier remarks, these educational changes will have a significant negative impact on our kids, their parents and caregivers, and the town's growth. But we need to emphasize that there are no policies in place within a department to guide superintendents when they make significant operational decisions that may affect communities such as ours. And I think I heard clearly around the table and from the emails that keep pinging my inbox that there is significant support for that. That's just not good governance. to make decisions like that in a vacuum without considering the greater community that they impact. And it's mentioned that, there are huge negative impacts that will accrue from these decisions. Decisions that I want to emphasize again, that the town was not advised about it or included in. And even our MLA was completely unaware. He found out the same way I did, by somebody who shared a letter that ASDS sent out in their email the day that the decision was made. The other thing, other than all of the things that we've mentioned, and I think, Carrie, you touched on it a little bit the most, was the fact that we are a bilingual province. And these decisions throw roadblocks in the way of our kids becoming bilingual and being able to be a full participant in the bilingual nature of our province. We're going to have kids that are going to have to choose between their siblings and their friends or learning our second official language. To me, that's completely unacceptable. It's completely unacceptable, and this decision should be rescinded. So I appreciate the fact that Council has so wholeheartedly embraced this motion. And on June the 12th, when this motion comes back, I would please encourage the general public to please attend our Council meetings. I think a fulsome and enthusiastic group of residents that these decisions are going to affect would send a huge message to the superintendent should he decide to should he decide to accept our invitation.
You just qualified it, Your Worship. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. So thank you, everybody. We'll move on to item 12, bills for payment. The motion is that the Council of the Town of Bay-Westfield authorize the May 23rd, 2023 bills for payment as presented in the amount for $166,640.51. Do I have a motion? Thank you, Deputy Mayor Toole. Do I have a second? Thank you, Councillor Bellman. That was your hand up, was it?
Yes.
Any questions or comments on the motion? Councillor McIntosh Lawrence.
Just one. Number 46, Shades of Green. Just over $2,000 for mulch. I'm wondering if that's just for the mulch or if it's also the spreading of the mulch.
It's complete. It's the town hall. It's everything. The new plants, the mulch, the labor, the weeding, winter cleanup.
That includes plants.
That's everything.
Not, okay.
And just let council know that's work that Works wants to take on. We run into a snag in registering our new equipment, so we only have 2 vehicles registered right now. The rest were registered as interprovincial, and I think after about 7 or 8 work days, we finally learned that both the former owner and the new owner have to meet in Fredericton to process the paperwork. So it took us about 2 weeks to learn that. So that's why we haven't been able to do more work, because equipment hasn't been transferred to our name yet. We run into bureaucratic red tape. Is that fair? And I think it took James 2 trips to St. John, 3 trips to St. John, emails to Fredericton, phone call to Fredericton, emails to Hampton, and other phone calls to finally learn that we have to set up a meeting in Fredericton with the former owner. So, yeah. We're a little sore on this one.
Yeah, I can imagine. We've all been there, maybe not with the large number of pieces of equipment, but yeah. Did you have a follow-up, Councilor? Any other questions or comments?
Did you guys check yet?
Any other questions or comments on the motion? There being none, all in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion is carried, thank you. Item 13, consent agenda. 13A, Town of Bay-Westfield Organizational Chart 2023. B, RCMP engagement presentation. C, RCMP priority setting exercise. D, RCMP annual report 2021. E, YSJ annual report 2022. F, Minister Hogan re school transportation data. G, Minister Adlet re LGR expenses. H, Fire Department monthly report April 2023. I, Minister Austin re RCMP retroactive pay. J, GPW LGR costs incurred to date. K, Mayor's Monarch Pledge newsletter May 2023. End consent agenda. The motion is that the council of the town of Grand Bay-Westfield receive and file the consent agenda items for May 23rd, 2023. Do I have a motion? Thank you, Councillor Burpee. Do I have a second? Thank you, Councillor Bellman. Any questions or comments on the motion? All in favor? Contrary minded? Motion is carried, thank you. We'll move to council reports, and we'll start with Councillor Burpee.
Okay. So, we'll start with, a couple Wednesdays ago, myself and the mayor attended the, AGM Information Center at the airport. So I just wanted to mention, that they mentioned that they are planning a covered walkway out of the gate. So I thought that was great. And, also they are hoping to add a couple of destinations, more direct flight destinations, like to Orlando. On the 13th, the Fire Service Awards. So congratulations to all the dedicated people that keep our community safe. Also, we enjoyed the meet and greet with the two new businesses, the Revella Pools and Cask and Kettle. Earlier today, we celebrated the Works Department with a nice barbecue. And also, I signed up with Big Brothers Big Sisters at the PALS program to be a mentor. So hopefully, if it all goes well, I will be joining one of the local schools in September.
Oh, that's
And
fantastic.
that's it for me.
Thank you, Councillor Burpee. Councillor Bellman.
It's pretty quiet for me, so I got council meeting, book meeting tomorrow, so other than that, taking emails and phone calls for public, that's all I've done this month, so.
Well,
Been pretty quiet.
that's important too, so thank you, Councillor Bellman.
Thank you.
Deputy Mayor Toole.
I have the two highlights, and both for Councillor Burpee. One was the Fire Service Awards, which were always a highlight every year, and it's amazing to see the amount of hours and dedication of our fire department, which is great. And second was the Public Works Appreciation Barbecue today with the Works Department, which was fantastic, and Carrie doesn't mean barbecue, so it was a really great. It was nice to see everybody, and I think everybody enjoyed it. I think so. That was a pleasure to.
You're UND meeting.
UND? Yes, the local governance reform.
Yeah.
That wasn't as much fun as the volunteering. No, but there was a local governance reform meeting which we try to hold every 2 weeks, but with schedules they kind of get adjusted. So this was our first one in a while, talking about even though the main stuff that the public sees with local governance reform is done, there's still a lot of behind the scenes things going on and a lot of change. So there's a group with CAOs and elected officials from various communities across the province that gets together and just discusses our experiences. If there's anything of interest, I bring back to the group to discuss.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Councillor Bellman.
Thank you, Your Worship. I had the pleasure of welcoming one of the two new businesses, Cask and Kettle. It's always nice when a new business comes to town, and we can arrive and welcome them with open arms, sometimes 2 councillors, sometimes 3 or 4, and the mayor. But it's a nice gesture, and it would be great if we had one of those every week, so I really enjoyed that. I also had the honor to attend, as some other councillors and yourself, Your Worship, the Fire Department Annual Service Awards, to hear some of the details of some of the long service awards and training that and special incidents that some of our fire department members have received. It is chilling, and also makes me proud that we live in this town with that fire service. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor McIntosh Lawrence.
So I haven't done a council report for 4 weeks, so I wasn't here for the last week, so I have a few things. The end of April, so I'm the council representative for the RBCC, as you know. So the end of April, I was fortunate to be part of the interview committee for our new general manager for RBCC. There were a ton of qualified applicants, but I'm happy to say that our new general manager for RBCC is Alex Clark. I'm sure that's not a surprise, but I just want to welcome Alex and wish him all the best. The beginning of May, I'm as chair of the Community Vitality Committee. I'm also on the Community Grant Selection Committee. So we met and awarded just under $6,000 to community groups, which we presented earlier tonight before our public session. So that was great to see all the recipients come. Also, like the other councillors and mayor and deputy mayor, I attended the fire service awards, and there were numerous deserving recipients. And the longtime service award, 45 years with Alan Tingley. So I just wanted to give a shout out to him. He's a great spokesperson and advocate for our fire department, and he's here every Monday night, every council night, and I talked to him tonight on the way in. So also, I was able to volunteer at Rock the Rink last weekend. It was a great turnout despite the downpour. We had I think one of the first food trucks in Grand Bay. I'm not sure if we've had them before, but we had the food truck, which I think was quite successful from what I've heard, despite the rain. And also the meet and greet with the new River Valley Pools and Cask and Kettle. That's it.
Thank you.
Barbecue.
I wasn't there.
But she delivered the food on Sunday
That's
and was apologetic about using the code. Sorry.
Yeah, I was sorry I couldn't attend the barbecue, but I have my day job to go to.
We get significant organizational, participation in that, I would say. Councillor Day.
Well, I unfortunately missed the fire service awards, so congratulate your department. And I've had an interesting couple of weeks in the middle of the fires that were from 101 down to 77, and I think they're up to 90 something now. And last count, 27 that are out of control. And I'd like to thank EMO and all the work we've done, because I was able to have 4 children ready to move if we were to evacuate. And it's one thing where we get floods and we take a deep breath every spring and hold on for dear life, because we've seen the impacts of flooding to our community. But there is nothing that you can say about the smoke and the smell of wood burning, and you know it's coming. And where I was, we were, Fox Creek got evacuated to us, and had we had to evacuate, we would have been going to Edmonton. And I'd like to thank all of the EMO people, because with all the practices that we've done, I know we've done table exercises on what if, and what if we have a fire. The last fire I remember, and I am really going to date myself, because it was Camp Petersville, and they had issues there with ammunition, and that started off quite the fight with the fire. So you're sitting there tonight, and if you are watching this, do you have an evacuation plan? It doesn't have to be huge, but what papers in your home are the only papers you have, and what if they burn? Could be an adoption paper. It could be anything. But has anybody ever stopped to think of what it is in your home that if it burned tomorrow, you could not replace? And that was what we went through, having cash. If we have to move, we may not be able to use a debit machine. We may need gasoline for the vehicle. And it was just all of the little things that you need to think about before it happens. And the kids wanted to know why we were putting coolers next to the fridge. And it was to put the stuff from the fridge into the coolers if we had to move, so we had food and beverages for them. So if you get a chance some night and you're not doing anything, take and stop and think of what you would need to take with you if we had a fire coming over the ridge and you had to evacuate. And the other thing I learned from some of the other homeowners around us, walk through your house. We all have these, even I have one of these now. Take a picture of your house and your contents. Then your insurance people aren't arguing with you of what you had in your home. And it just helps protect you as well. So it was EMO week, the last meeting. I'm gonna probably keep some of that going because what if, and we never know. We've had ice storms, we've had hurricanes, but we never know. So it's good to be back and it's nice to breathe.
Thank you, Councillor. And thank you to all the councillors for all the work that you do on behalf of our residents. I appreciate all the work that you do, and a lot of it's unsung, and I know the residents appreciate it too. If they, so it's one of the reasons these little council reports are so good, so that we can tell everybody, all the little things that you're working so hard on that, might not be out on Facebook or out in the public and that kind of thing. So again, thank you very much. I know you work very hard. So I guess it's my turn. I can't say a whole lot more about the fire safety awards. Everybody's saying everyone's praises. It's always such an inspirational night to be there and see the time and the dedication that all of our members give to our fire service, but also the families of our firefighters. They sacrifice a lot too, and to have been there to celebrate, Alan Langley's 45th anniversary how many people, have that even across the province, not that very many, so it's really significant. So that was, really loved that. Along with Councillor Burpee, I participated in the YSJ AGM, and it was exciting to see how they're recovering from the pandemic and what their plans for the future are. I attended along with our CAO, the J Division RCMP community consultation, talking about community public safety priorities such as road safety, property crime, and we talked about the importance of community policing here in the town. We talked not a lot, but I wanted to highlight the fact that there is now an online crime reporting tool for non-emergency crimes. So I would encourage everybody that is experiencing just smaller crimes, property crimes under $5,000, these are important. It's a way for you to reach the RCMP where you don't need an immediate response, but it provides a report that can be used for insurance purposes. And, for us, it also, and for the RCMP, it contributes important information that can be used to assess crime trends. Like, that way we know, if there's an issue in a certain part of town, or there's, people speed, someone says there's someone speeding here all the time. The more reports like that the RCMP get, the more, that more tools in their toolbox to deal with that situation. So there's no need to call or visit a detachment. You can use that and just go to the RCMP, and the website is right on their main page. So wanted to make sure people were aware of that. I attended a national RCMP Public Safety Canada meeting in Fredericton as a UMNB rep, and the topic of conversation was future contract discussions. What went well, what didn't go well, how can we go into the future with the contract negotiations that are going to be coming up in 2032, which seems a long way from today, but it will take a long time to get us from where we are to where we need to be. I participated in the Union of Municipalities of New Brunswick quarterly Board of Director meeting on a Saturday morning. It was about a 3.5-hour meeting, but we had a lot of business to get through. I attended a fiscal reform discussion with UMNB to help inform what the association's key priorities will be when it attends the fiscal summit held by the Government of New Brunswick in September. I was thrilled to welcome 2 new businesses along with a number of our councillors here, a Cask and Kettle and River Valley Pools. I spent way too much money at Cask and Kettle already. So I guess I'm enjoying the fact that they're here. I attended Prude Inc.'s All Women Committee meeting last week, and the focus of the meeting this time was ageism. And I presented and spoke on the intergenerational project between the town and our local schools that is supported by Community Vitality and our Age Friendly Committee. and talked about, how bringing all different generations together is good for wellness and community health and social inclusion for the people that live in the town. So that was a great discussion. I was proud to be able to present that project that a lot of people have worked on, and hopefully will have a trial here in June, and it'll launch fully in September. I chaired the Fundy Regional Service Commission Regional Transportation Meeting to help develop action items and priorities, which will be included in the FRSC regional strategy that is currently being developed. And today, along with our barbecue expert, Councillor Burpee, and Deputy Mayor Toole, and I know everybody else would have loved to have been there, but I know there's a lot of priorities that we have to split our time among. So it was for our amazing Works Department, and without our Works Department, we wouldn't be able to walk on the sidewalks, flush our toilets. Soon, they'll be responsible for the fact that we can drive to work in a snowstorm, and all of those things that we need. These are essential services, and our Works Department are the ones that make that happen. So thank you for all the essential work you do for our community. So that's just a snapshot of my last couple of weeks, and I think that's it. So on to item 15, business arising from committee of the whole. There being none, we'll move on to item 16, which is adjournment. The motion is that the council of the town of Grand Bay-Westfield adjourn the meeting at 8:40 p.m. Do I have a motion? Thank you, Councillor Burpee. Do I have a second? Thank you, Deputy Mayor Toole. All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion is carried. Thank you, council.